welcome back to another powerful episode of Healthy Mind, Healthy Life, the podcast where we break down the invisible walls between who we are and who we can become. I'm your host Avik, and today we are diving into something that's often overlooked in fitness and health journeys. It's mindset. Now, before you think this is another just think positive episode, hold up. This is much deeper. This is all about the mental narratives that we all carry, the habits that we inherit, and the small internal shifts that can radically reshape our external results. So, and to help us unravel all of this, we have the amazing Allyson in the house. So, welcome to the show, Allyson.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for that amazing intro on what our discussion will be today.
Lovely, lovely, yeah. So, dear listeners, before we start, I'll quickly love to introduce you to all the listeners, to Allyson. And dear listeners, Allyson is a NASM certified personal trainer and the nutrition coach, a full time probation officer. Yes, really. And the founder and the founder of Allyson Nicole Nutrition. So, what sets her apart is her fusion of behavior change theory and the real world coaching. So, not just the reps and the macros, but rewiring how we think, feel, and act around our health. So, get comfy, whether you are on a walk, in a car, or squeezing in home workout, then this conversation is going to challenge your assumption and uplift your mindset. So, welcome to the show again.
Thank you. Yeah, and thank you for that intro. We often overlook mindset when we're talking about health and wellness, and a lot of times people are really more interested in simply, getting a plan for themselves or just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And we found through behavior change that that's really actually not accurate. A lot of
Mm,
times we want to figure it out for ourselves and have some autonomy there. So even in
mm,
probation work and with the clients that I serve, autonomy is really important to make sure they have freedom of choice in their health decisions.
mm. Exactly. And so so a different time to start with that kind of invisible stuff like mindset. So in your experience, how much of a person's fitness or maybe the nutritional journey is truly influenced by how they think versus
Mhm.
like what they actually do?
Yeah. So, if I can share just a little bit of my own story and how this revelation kind of came to be, so to speak, I had spent about 10 years of my life really struggling with disordered eating, like a lot of people, restricting my food intake or not wanting to eat certain things. And it really put me in a cycle of binging and restricting. And in 2020, I kind of had my aha moment where I just thought, what if I stopped putting so much energy in trying to change my body and shifted it into loving myself
Yeah.
how I was in the body that I was?
Mhm.
Um, and that was kind of that mindset shift for myself. And after that, I had set a plan in place to not weigh myself, and I was going to drop all my food rules and really change my perspective with health. And I'll never forget that first visit to the grocery store where I got
Mhm.
anything that I wanted to eat. And
Yeah.
I got home. My favorite thing is Sour Patch Kids. I love candy.
Okay.
And when I got home, I sat down, ripped open the bag, was super excited to eat it. And as soon as I started enjoying it, I kind of realized I didn't get that same dopamine hit that I was getting
Mm.
previously. It was in that moment where, again, I had another aha of restriction really, really impacted my ability. It helped me fixate on the food. Um, and when I was fixating on the food, it was keeping me in this binge restrict cycle. Now that I've dropped those food rules and my mindset is more of a growth mindset as opposed to a fixed mindset around food and
Yeah.
nutrition, I have a completely different outlook. So one of the things is with my clientele is we work on that growth versus fixed
Mm.
mindset. I'm sure you've heard um, others in the past or people talk about kind of just
Yeah.
like, I'll start again tomorrow or or I'm stressed out, so I can't do anything. And what research is showing that when we change our mindset around these these thoughts or stress that we have, it can impact our outlook and even our behaviors so we can make a more positive choice that aligns with our goals.
Mm, exactly. Wow. So, also, like, what do you think is the most common mindset traps, like you see people fall into when trying to get healthier?
Yeah. The biggest one is the all or nothing thinking
Yeah.
patterns. And that, of course, is the I'll start again tomorrow, or
Mm,
oh shoot, I screwed up my day because I maybe had one less nutritious choice. So I'm just gonna go all the other way and go all in. Or I missed a workout this week, so I can't. I just not gonna do anything. That's kind of the biggest mindset challenge that I see folks getting into. And learning to I talk a lot about with my clients about learning to live in the gray area. And that's really where that magic happens, because are if you're rigid in your thinking that things have to be a certain way or you're just not going to do them, then you're more likely to just not do them. An example of this
mm,
is I've had a client in the past who really struggled with doing a workout if she couldn't do a full, say, 60-minute workout. So there's a lot of work around just kind of doing what you can do. 15 minutes is better than nothing, and shifting her mindset to, again, live more in that gray area than
mm.
those all or nothing thinking pattern.
True. Exactly. Ah, and also, like, I mean, I have to say that I really love, because this it's not only it's not about being lazy or unmotivated, right? So it's all about the stories that we tell ourselves. Um, I mean, whether those stories make us hero or hurdle. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing that up. I think about
Mm,
the belief systems that we've held for a long time that are really no longer serving us, and how that can play into self-sabotage behaviors. So,
yeah.
like you shared, the stories that we tell ourselves,
Mm,
sometimes we don't have an opportunity to ever reevaluate those stories. One of the stories that I know I was always saying to me about myself was that in order to have confidence, I needed to be a certain body size. And finally, when I started actually examining that and kind of putting that question mark of, is this true? Um, I realized that it wasn't true. So again, helping clients diving deeper into the negative thinking patterns that they may have, and what stories that they're telling about themselves and what belief systems that they hold, um, and how it can impact their behaviors.
mm. Okay. And like, you have got a fascinating background as a probation officer. So behavior change is your world. Like, so how has that shaped your coaching style? Like, especially when it comes to helping clients overcome the self-sabotage or deeply ingrained habits.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for asking that. Probation is my other passion. I love helping individuals work through any barriers and kind of motivate them to change. And with our probation work, it's very, very similar in the sense that we dive a little bit deeper into cognitive behavioral theory, utilizing interventions to help motivate clients to change. And some of those same belief systems we see in our clients through probation, I've found even in nutrition coaching, um, or health coaching. And a lot of the same tools that I use in probation can be used in coaching. So for example, we utilize what's called a thinking report in in probation. And what a thinking report is, it examines, you take a situation, you be very objective with it. You walk through some of the thoughts that you had going through your head, some of the feelings that those thoughts elicited, and then what are some of those stories or those belief systems that impacted those thoughts. And from there, it's really about building awareness. And it's the same framework between the two. So, first, we want to just build awareness of what our habits and thoughts are,
Mhm.
and identify what needs to change or what needs to stay the same. And then we create a plan, try out the plan. And it's really about not judging ourselves and staying curious. Of course, with probation, there are different stakes, right? Different
Mhm.
things at risk. So it can be a different kind of targeted behavior, but still the same exact framework.
Got it.
Mhm.
So okay, and also is there a technique or tool from that world that listeners could use today to make more empowered health decisions?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing for a technique is to just simply pay attention to our thought patterns and stay
Mhm.
objective with them. I hear a lot. In fact, every single client that I've served has shared kind of their struggle with negative thinking patterns and recognizing how that isn't really helpful. Um, Guilt and shame doesn't actually
Mm.
reinforce the behaviors that we want it to, like we think it does, but we're really good at that for ourselves.
Mhm.
So, one of the first techniques is to just simply pay attention to our thoughts and when we're eating. There are, of course, other nutrition skills like simply slowing down can be very impactful, chewing our food thoroughly,
Mhm.
but when it comes to our mindset and how it can impact our health, making sure that we're kind of keeping our negative thinking patterns in check. And that also means identifying new ways of thinking. So if I have a thought go through my head and I'm thinking like, there's no way I'm going to do this today. I can't, I've already screwed up my eating. I better wait until tomorrow. If
Mhm.
that thought crosses my head, having something to reinforce a different way. So it could be, "No, I don't do that anymore. I'm gonna still eat dinner tonight. We're not gonna start again tomorrow. I'm gonna start right now." So it's also challenging the thinking and replacing it with a thought that is more helpful or
Mm.
doesn't elicit the same feelings that we can get.
Got it.
Mhm.
And like also many people associates fitness with the extremes like restrictive diets, overtraining, all or nothing mindsets, right? And you take a non-restrictive lifestyle based approach. So what inspired you to shift in that direction?
Yeah, so really what inspired me was my history with restriction and kind of over exercising and essentially doing all the things that I'm actively
Mm.
trying to not do now. And so when I was struggling with disordered eating, I was very restrictive with my diet. I would cut out all sugar. I would end up just binging on all of the things I was restricting. But in addition to that, I was significantly over exercising. I had been training for my first marathon in 2019, and on top of the training, I was also going to a boot camp class about 4 days a week. So I was
Mm.
doing a lot of overtraining, I was under eating. I was If I were being honest with myself, I was trying to lose weight at that time, and no one
Mhm.
everyone says you can't lose weight in a marathon, and I thought I was gonna be an anomaly for some reason, I was not. Um, but that's what really led me to where I'm at now, and I think about when I had that moment of I was gonna be done kinda doing those things, I put myself in a space where I could reevaluate what I really enjoyed doing it for exercise, um, and it just made me realize that everything that I thought I needed to be doing, the over-exercising, the under-eating, the continuing to cut my calories was not the way. Um
Mhm.
and I was somebody who always really didn't I would always look at others and think, "Why is it so hard for me and so easy for others?" And at the
Mm.
time, I was putting it on, lack of motivation, or I just wasn't working hard enough. Again, really shameful thinking, negative thinking patterns. And now that I'm in a completely different space in my life, I realize that it had nothing to do with my lack of motivation or my, I'm not working hard enough. It was very much my relationship with food that was different between me and those
Mm,
other individuals that I was comparing myself to.
yeah.
So it can be easy to go to extremes in the climate that we're living in now and just the
Mm,
space we see on social media and the confusing information that's out there.
mm,
And what's really important is always just keeping it a balance for you. And I think that that's why a lot of people struggle with figuring out what is best for them because we're always trying to do what others are doing and we never ask how can it fit into my life? Like what do I want to do? What's best for me?
mm,
Um so that's where coaching really comes in is giving that client the space to be able to kind of figure out like yes, of course I offer framework and guidance, but at the end of the day it's figuring out a plan that works for that person, not me handing them a plan and making it fit into their life.
mm. True. Exactly. And so like if I want to go personal, like um you have openly shared your own challenges with the disordered eating and your decision in 2020 to reframe your relationship with the food. So, how did your mindset play a role in that transformation?
Yeah. It was kind of that one thought that crossed my mind of what would happen if I did this
Mm,
instead of like, what would happen if I quit dieting and doing all the things and put that same amount of energy into doing something different. And I would say my mindset was absolutely integral in my change because one of the other things that I had decided to do and I told myself I was going to do was
mm,
that any opportunity that crossed my desk, if I said if my initial reaction was to say no to it, I would say yes. I wouldn't even give myself an opportunity to say no. And so it really started stretching my limits in terms of what I felt I was capable of. And I think ultimately when we think about mindset, if we start to build awareness and we understand what our belief systems are and can kind of figure out are they serving me still or are they not serving me? And once we know they're not, then we can start to provide evidence to the opposite. So once I kind of had a feeling like, wow, my confidence has nothing to do with my body size. It has everything to do with kind of getting myself out of my comfort zone as I slowly started to prove myself wrong that being thin was the answer. I and gained evidence in the opposite. That was really where it was transformative for me. Um, and where coaching comes in too is like, let's gather evidence for a new belief system that's going to better serve you in the long run and continuing to operate on this other one that hasn't really been working.
exactly. Yeah. Lovely. That's really amazing. So, wow. I mean, it's mic drop, right? I mean, what I'm talking from this, I'm considering from this conversation is that mindset is not just the first step towards our health goals. So it's the foundation that everything else resets on. And whether it's building muscle, healing your relationship with food, or just finding 5 minutes to move your body, the way you think is either your anchor or your wings. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Mhm.
And so, Alison, like if someone wants to connect with you, what will be the best medium?
Yeah, so, people can connect with me on social media. I have TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. It's Allyson Coaches is my handle. First name is spelled Allyson. And also on my website, it's
Yeah.
www.allisoncoaches.com.
Perfect. Perfect. Lovely. So, dear listeners, I'll put all the links into the show notes for your easy reference. And if today's episode lit a fire in you, share it with someone who needs it. Leave us a review, subscribe, and remember that your healthiest life starts with the healthiest thoughts. So, until next time, this is your host, Avik, and this is Healthy Mind, Healthy Life. Keep rising. Thank you so much.